Hello adventurers, and welcome to the wrap up for this round of Adventurerathon. The sounds of construction finally cease. You're all exhausted. You have exerted all your energy repairing this ship. As the final morning dawns, the tools are put down and the final iron fitting slots into place. You stand back as a collective and you look at your ship. The Driftwood, as she has so fondly, maybe not so fondly for some, been named, is standing. Some things look a bit lopsided, and there are definitely spots where you can see the pitch is very thin, and one or two gaps where you just kind of decided as a collective that, you know what, as long as the bottom of the ship is enough to keep afloat, it's all good. One or two tiny little holes, not a problem. You gather all of your belongings and what's left of your meagre supplies. You store everything on the ship, you climb aboard, you take one last look at the island that has been your source of protection and shelter, but also the source of your biggest stress. You push the boat out, everyone holds their breath, waiting to see if she will sink or float. And there's a few more creaks, there's a few more groans than there were when you left your last adventure. But she seems steady, and she seems ready. With a sigh of relief, you cast off and make your way to your next adventure. Congratulations, adventurers. It was very touch and go there for a little while, but you managed to gather enough materials to repair the ship just enough to get yourselves onto your next adventure. With the effort that you all went into to not only name this ship, but Jonah's incredible sibling made this picture for us that we can then use for future rounds. Just the talent is insane. I've said to Jonah that I would love to hire them for more graphics and things for future rounds, but so much effort went into this that I have decided that there's no way that the Driftwood won't be back. We're gonna have at least one or two future rounds where the Driftwood makes a reappearance. So congratulations, without meaning to, you have now officially adopted a boat. So, you know, that wasn't in my plans. That I didn't consider that. This was meant to be a one and done sort of sea adventure, but you guys have directly influenced the readathon. So we now have a ship. I imagine that ship's probably going to go through various changes and stuff. And Jonah and I do have a couple of ideas that we've been throwing around for how we can introduce even more things to do with the Driftwood. But yeah, you sail off and you are ready for your next adventures. Thank you all so much for joining. I do want to start with that. I know every time I do a round, one or two things will crop up. It's usually my health, but normally it's migraines. And so, you know, there's usually a lot of rescheduling of sprints, but this time round, even events had to be completely changed because if you were there, you know, but if you are watching this and you're just like interested in what happened, I did end up in the last 2 weeks of the month, I ended up in hospital and then on a lot of antibiotics and painkillers and things that did mess with my body and system. I'm still kind of suffering. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for sticking around, for not complaining and having a go at me when I did have to change, and for all of your lovely messages of support. It genuinely does mean the world. And I did consider a couple of times during this readathon and during this round whether I actually wanted to continue Adventurerathon. I've got loads of ideas for future rounds, but I was a bit unsure about whether to do it, and I'm going to talk about that later in the video. But if it wasn't for all of those lovely messages and people, even when I wasn't announcing things, people were messaging me to ask if I was okay. And it made me realise that there are more than just one or two people who would actually miss the readathon if I stopped it. So it isn't going to stop, it is going to continue. And obviously, as always, thank you so much to Jonah. He has been an incredible support. As always, he is just an amazing social media manager and I could not do this without him. whether it be bouncing ideas or fencing questions. He's just amazing. Yeah, so thank you again so much, Jonah. Anyway, I do have some stats for those of you who are interested. In total, we read 215 books, and that came to 65,555 pages. That averaged out at 304 pages per person per book. So everyone did fantastically, everyone did amazing. It was a little touch and go at times. I think if it wasn't for that boost that I did on that final couple of days, we may have been in a bit of trouble. But if you are interested in what you kind of needed to what we got, going from what you needed the least of to the most, it is quite amusing for me, to be perfectly honest. Because the thing that you needed the least of, you only needed 15, was canvas, and you ended up with 41. So we definitely overachieved and overperformed for that, but that's not a bad thing. It just means that you now have a ton of canvas just sitting on the ship. So if in future any repairs are needed, at least you know you don't need to worry about that. So we're all good. Then you needed rope. You needed 20 rope. And again, that was one that was kind of in a bit of trouble until that final weekend, and you ended up with 31. So you did end up with a good amount, and you now have a little bit spare. Pitch, you needed 25. You ended up with 33. So you did definitely get that one, which was great. And then the last two, both of these, you needed quite a high number, because you're fixing a ship. You're going to need a lot of wood, and you need a lot of nails to hold it all together. Lumber, you did really well. You needed 30. You got 37. So where I said that maybe there's a few gaps in the ship, that'll just be because even though you've collected the wood and you had enough to get her floating again, you didn't quite gather enough to, you got her functioning. You didn't exactly get her stable. Functioning but not whole. Pretty much me. And then the one that was in the biggest trouble, but you did, thanks to, again, that boost, but iron fittings, you also needed 30, and literally right up until about 4 days before the end, you were on not even 10. And then when I announced that you could submit your book as anything, suddenly you had a load. But yeah, I was kind of stressing, because I was like, at this rate, they're gonna put the ship onto the sea and everything's just gonna immediately pop off and just go bleh. And then it's like, well, what do we do for the next round? But you did come through, and you did manage to scrape enough together. A couple of reminders, just sort of housekeeping, and just to make sure that you are reaping all of the rewards. In terms of gold accumulated during the Ruin Hunter Challenge, remember you did find some gold, so please do make sure that you add 2,200 gold, so 2,200 gold, to your coin pouches. The merchant is now back open and will remain open until the next round, so anytime, if you either want to get some resources now, or if you want to wait until the next round, or if at any point during the next however long until the next round you want to gather some stuff, you can do that. I have also decided, because no one I am aware of chose to do the extra reading to create your own items, I have decided that's going to become a permanent feature of every readathon and every round going forward, and it's something you can do in between rounds. So if you've got a month where you've got no readathons or no challenges and you want to do something, then you can always come back into the Adventurerathon G Drive. It's always open all year round, and you can get in touch with myself or Jonah and ask for whichever item it is you want to craft. We'll send you the materials list, and then you can just work on creating your own items doing that if you so wish. So if you need a reminder about how that all works, please do go back to the introduction video that I did when I announced this round. I explain it a lot more there. But yeah, that option is going to stay available to you 365 days a year from now until I decide to no longer do this readathon. So I really do hope that you take advantage of that, because like I said, yes, it involves extra reading, but it cuts the price of your items down significantly. So do definitely check that out and let us know if you are interested. Don't forget your character XP. Everyone who did their character prompt, which I think is everyone, then don't forget you've earned yourself 50 XP. And those of you who then chose to do the optional prompt, you've earned yourself 100, so don't forget to keep a note of that somewhere. On the bank spreadsheet where you can log your gold, I will add a new tab for you to also log your character XP if you don't want to sort of have it written down anywhere. So please do make sure you are keeping track of all of that. In terms of the giveaways, I want to say a massive congratulations again to Shelbs for winning the giveaway that we did during the Great Storm, and I will be in touch very soon to sort out your rewards. And unfortunately for the ARC giveaway that I did, no one won that giveaway. So I might do that as just a general giveaway over on one of my other social medias at some point. So yeah, that's all we have for prizes and giveaways. And then the last little bit that I wanted to talk about is the future rounds. I give clues. I don't usually give sort of exactly what's going to be happening, but I did want to just talk a little bit about some of the ideas that I've had floating around. So I've got ideas for future rounds. One of them was one that Jonah kind of mentioned, and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool, which involves portals and magic beans and growing and collecting the beans to portal to different worlds and different adventures. I don't yet know whether it's going to be that is a round that we do or a new mechanic that I bring in that we'll then use across every round. I don't yet know, but that is definitely an idea that we are playing around with, is this idea of magic portals and stuff. Kind of like in Once Upon a Time with the magic beans. But one of the big ideas, inspired by one of my favourite video games, which is World of Warcraft. I don't really play anymore, but I did used to play a lot. They have an event that runs, I can't remember if it's monthly or just every now and then through the year, called the Dark Moon Fair. It's kind of like a carnival. So I am thinking of bringing in some mini rounds like we did last year. I'm gonna bring that in around holidays, so not every single holiday, but definitely in winter, sort of probably not December, it'll be January or February, there will be a little mini round, and there'll be sort of like a Winterfest themed festival. During summer there'll be a midsummer festival, and so I've got lots of ideas bouncing around for that to try and expand on our world a little bit and bring you some more content, but without overwhelming and without it being an entire month. So I've got a couple of those kind of things planned, but where I need your input and your feedback is, have you been enjoying this format of every single round so far has been completely different to ones before? So the storyline is following on from each other, but the actual mechanics of the round is changing most months. So obviously round one, we were at the Adventures Guild, you went around the island, you collected bounties, you were exploring the map and sort of getting into your adventures. The second round we had the haunted house. So, you know, you were trying to break a curse and then collectively had the boss fight. Then you obviously had the shipwreck and have been building and repairing the ship. So are you happy to continue having it be sort of a random theme of whatever is inspiring me in that moment to do each round? So please do let me know whether you are happy for me to just free reign, do whatever, you will take part no matter what, or if you would prefer there to be a little bit more structure and a little bit more kind of, you know, it's all set in the one world and you feel like everything's more linked together. Please do let me know going forward, because it will massively change some of the ideas that we've had. Any and all feedback is always welcome as well. Just be nice about it. Thank you all again so much for joining. I really hope you've enjoyed this round of Adventurerathon. If this was your first round, I really hope that you felt welcome. I really hope that things have been understandable, easy to access, and I really hope that you decide to join us again. And if you have been a returning adventurer, it's always so lovely to see you all. I really hope that this round has been just as good as the previous rounds, and I really do hope that you continue again to join us on future adventures. Depending on your response to what you would like moving forward, the next round is kind of loosely planned in my head. We have November being the month that that's going to take place. It's not going to be as big a gap as it was between the last two rounds, but I really hope that you do come back and join us. The other exciting thing is that I also now have plans for some merch. So if you want to get some merchandise for future rounds going forward, watch this space, because I do have some ideas and I now have an artist that I can hire to help put those ideas into reality. It's going to be great. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. Thank you so much for watching and for joining in and your continued support. It means the absolute world to me. And I will see you on our next adventure. Bye.